Hey there, fellow hunters. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to Bellwright, Episode 7, Wolf Hunter. So when I'm looking for new villagers, I would say, at least for my playstyle for this series, I did mention before that it's entirely possible for the player with enough arrows to kill everything that you need to kill to win. No joke. You can solo everything if you want. It's not how I'm going to be approaching this, but it's possible. I just want to flat out state. I don't think it's the right way to play, as it doesn't really take advantage of like the neat army and equipment game mechanics. It's just sort of a min-maxy way to do it, and it's not the way I'm going to be doing it. So my point is, the way I want to approach looking for recruits is sort of a 2-to-1 ratio, or a roughly 2-to-1 ratio of fighters to craftsmen. And a lot of the times they'll have traits that either make them good craftsmen or make them good fighters. So Lubomir here is a little jack of all trades because he's a prodigy, meaning that he learns everything kind of fast, and he has sort of decent stats for everything. Fives are sort of decent. It goes up to 10. Technically, you can get higher, but only 2 NPCs in the game have higher than 10s. Even I am restricted to 10. I don't go higher. There are special NPCs that have 20s. But, so when I'm looking for people to recruit, I'm more or less looking for... I'll look at all of Rhadamant's offerings, besides the people that require the town to be liberated, which are going to be the professionals, and to find who is next best. And it might be a fighter. It might be a crafts person. So we'll go and find that out. Which does mean I'm going to want to probably start a notepad to write down who I find so that I keep track of the people that are worth a damn. I also want to avoid carpetbagger. So the carpetbagger morale penalty is when you have more than 3 people from a specific town living in a settlement. And as far as I know, that means that if I had 2 outposts, if I had my primary outpost and let's say a copper miner outpost, if I had 3 people from Rhadamant in my primary outpost and like 3 people in the copper mine, I would be avoiding the carpetbagger penalty. But I just don't want 4 people from Rhadamant living in the same spot. So this is what I'm talking about. We have Joan Lotwood, for instance, who is a marksman and a weakling,
and you might be one of them. Prove you're trustworthy, and we can
who's also
together.
A weaver. And she's only going to join me if I have 583 renown, if I am a protector of Rhadamant, and if the village is liberated. I am in no way going to be able to liberate this anytime soon, but anyone with a profession like weaver, blacksmith, or farmer, which is who comes from Rhadamant, will require a liberation. So like Rob, for instance, will also require to be liberated too. And he's even more fussy because he requires it my trust level to be Bellwright, which is the highest. You max out at Bellwright. And he's a swordsman, a porter, and an optimist. So he has pretty good stats, but I'm not going to be able to recruit him maybe even in this stream. But his stats are really high. Like his strength and agility goes to 5 and 6, his one-handed goes to 8, his labor goes to 9 and starts at 6, which is really sweet. His crafting goes to 10, which is really good. And it's also worth mentioning that like as a weaver, I haven't discovered it yet, but if I want to unlock Weaver's Hut, I need a weaver in my town. So I don't get to get a Weaver's Hut without a weaver. Meaning that a lot of the tier 2 and tier 3 buildings require you to liberate towns. But in liberating towns, you'll need a sizable, decently armed fighting force to defend, to defeat the brigands and then defend against the brigands. So it's sort of chicken and the egg, where like a lot of the really good gear needs weavers and laborers and blacksmiths, but you don't get blacksmiths, weavers, and laborers until you have liberated the towns. So The strategy, more or less, is to use brute force and have like a swarm of villagers using like rondels and basic, like, rugged shirts and garbs to outnumber the brigands. Or at least that's the strategy I'm going to do. You could, if you want, just get a bow, a whole bunch of arrows, and kill them all yourself, but that's not how I want to go about this. So when I'm looking for recruits, I'm looking for recruits that can double as craftspeople and fighters in a pinch. So here's Rudolph, who's a slacker. I don't want a slacker.
Help those of us in need.
So his
stats
here aren't terrible, but as a slacker, he just has bad productivity, so he's not someone to recruit. So I'm just trying to build up a codex or an encyclopedia or a Rolodex or whatever you want to call it of the people from Herondine that might be decent.
Sorry, I'm busy.
So this dude's
but if you continue
a blacksmith
those of us in need, we will
who
respond.
would require liberation. So he's not worth looking at just yet. And most people aren't going to join me unless they're terrible.
Sorry,
here's Rudolph again. So now that it's grayed out, I know that I've talked to him. But most of the people that are going to be worth a damn are going to require me to have higher reputation with the town. Like, who the hell would want to join a random stranger? Only, like, beggars, right?
Sorry, I'm sure you mean well.
So nearsighted and sprinter. Sprinter's not bad as a porter. Nearsight is not a problem as long as they're not trying to be an archer. But her max stats are pretty low. But she only requires associate, which means that she would be pretty easy to recruit. But I'm mostly going to be looking for people that have at least, like, let's say 3 agility, 3 strength, or something like that. Because if they don't have that, their combat potential is pretty limited. He's an apprentice farmer, so I won't be able to recruit him until it's liberated. So my guess is I'm probably not going to be able to add anyone worth anything until my reputation with Raridine's a little bit better, unless I want a beggar, which I don't.
Spare a coin for an old soul.
Now, if you do recruit a beggar,
are you new in town?
You can always expel them at a later date. It's just he's dull, he's dumb, and he's a slacker, so he's not going to be all that helpful. And if you want to expel people, you have to use your renown to expel them, which you can do. It's best to just recruit the ones you want. So this guy is an expert blacksmith. He's a quest giver for later on. He's a farmer. That's a brigand. That's a quest giver.
Stop wandering around.
Shut up, stupid elder. Don't know what to do.
There was
so here's another one.
We were more welcoming,
neurotic.
but
so he's very productive. But if he gets hurt, he dies more often, which is bad. But the good thing about him is he has stupidly high strength and pretty good crafting stats. So Robert Grimhilt would be, and I'm writing it down, would be a good potential fighter. He's not going to be able to use some of the best weapons, which require better agility, but his strength and one-handed ability, plus his shields, would allow him to fight pretty decently. And because he's neurotic, he can craft pretty decently. He's a little delicate because of the neuroticism, because of his death chance. But he's decent. So I'm going to write
Tend the livestock, keeping them fed and watered.
So I have a little text document where I'm keeping track of this.
I heard these lands
so
are
she is stalwart.
How do I know you won't bring trouble to them?
So stalwart people are good fighters, but they're terrible craftspeople because of their productivity is minus 50%. So everything they do requires more time, which sucks. She only requires friend level friend, which is pretty easy to get. Friend is tier 3, which is pretty easy. Protector is a little bit harder, and Bellwright's very hard.
Me badly.
But her agility is terrible, so she's probably not going to be worth it anyway. She's a weaver, so I can't get her. One thing I kind of wish they would add is if there was like a list of all the people in the village.
There was a time when
but there isn't. Welcoming. You're a pessimist. You're nearsighted. I don't want you.
Sorry, I barely know who you are, and you're asking
Fierce
for my
is pretty
help.
good.
Build some trust first.
But dullard, not so good. And he's fierce, which means he does like more damage in attacking and attacks faster. and only requires level associate, but his max stats are pretty low.
These lands.
I talked to you already.
Have you seen? Not yet, traveler.
Nearsighted Dollard? Nope. So far, Robert Grimhilt
Have you seen?
is probably my favorite. If the name says expert, it means they're a quest giver. They will never be recruitable.
Sorry, I'm busy.
And
There was a
you
time
were
when we
recruited
more
at what?
welcoming,
Protector?
But that was a long, long time ago.
So
Earn
Protector's a
your
little
place
bit harder to get, but yeah, it's a stretch. I guess I could, as a stopgap measure, get a beggar for now, who's cheap, but they just suck, so they're not someone I'm likely to keep for very long. Yeah, and you can also like kill off low-level recruits with no penalties. True, you can conscript them and like, march them into danger and get them killed. Oh, I forgot to drop my axes off. Again, this is a role-playing series where I'm not trying to murder people. Throwing them away. So I won't be doing that. I'm not... it says in the details here, but I'm not playing min-maxed.
Have you
I'm
seen
not
the
playing
Not
meta.
yet, traveler. But if you continue to help those of us in need, we will
So
respond
Owen
in kind.
Garnor... Oh, no, you're a blacksmith. Have I talked to you? Get over here.
Are you new?
No, I
you
haven't.
are in no position to make
fierce
such
weakling.
an offer, traveler. If you raise your standing in the village,
He's
I will
okay.
reconsider your offer.
Yeah, he's decent. I would consider him too. So, Gregory Durst. Dressed. So I think what I'll do is I'll build up to associate and recruit Gregory, because he's not bad. He's okay enough because of his ferocity that I won't need to necessarily dismiss him, because I'm not looking to dismiss people or get them killed. I'm trying to build up. I'm trying to roleplay as a rebel leader. And what that means to me is to keep my rebels happy and to keep myself off the radar. So keeping myself off the radar means not being a carpetbagger, because as a rebel leader, if I get all of my rebels from the same town, it attracts a lot of attention. But if I spread out my recruiting efforts amongst a whole bunch of towns, it's not going to be obvious to the brigands. Again, role-playing. This is not part of the game mechanics, but this is how I want to approach it. So I want to recruit my people from all of the towns a little bit at a time, and to keep them happy, and to keep them the high morale, and keep them well armed and well fed, and then to defeat threats with them, to not solo everything with a bow, which I'm totally capable of doing, but I'm not willing to do. So right now what I'm doing is killing one more wolf and recruiting Greg Dressed. Will be my second villager. And there might be better people that I overlooked because I didn't talk to everybody, but Greg Dressed was good enough. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Don't see me, don't see me, don't see me, don't... Aww. Well, it doesn't really matter. I'm hunting wolves. So if I open up the wolf quest, it actually tells me where there are some wolves. You don't have to kill the wolves at the quest objective. It's just a way to find them more easily. Oh, Anthek. Cheers, by the way. And as I mentioned before, if you see a bunch of birds of prey circling overhead, it usually indicates that it's like a wolf den. Giving a little bit of heads up of like, hey, don't stumble in here ill-prepared. Also, if I'm killing wolves, I should probably pick a berry to eat to fill up my third food slot. There we go. because that's a bit of extra stamina regeneration and a little bit of health. Not much, but here we go. I see ya. Got it in the head. Oh. 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 Ah. Oh. Ah. Now, unlike boars, which just try to gore you constantly, wolves do a howl every now and then, where they back off of you, and while they're howling, they're very easy to shoot in the head. And they're not too hard to kill. The boars are harder. Getting jumped by a few boars can actually be a bit challenging early game. So here's the howl where they are stationary. But when they charge you, it's not too hard to shoot them in the face. The teeth here can be used to make wolf trophies, which are good for renown, and are also required for a specific quest. And also can just be sold to the village leaders for renown and gold. So here you can see human corpses where these wolves were given Rhadamant some trouble. So I've run their little quest for them. And this was also a spot for copper. So while I'm here, might as well grab some copper for my trouble. And I have space for one more. There we go. So before sun goes down, I'm going to try to get out to Dobrin the Elder to tell him, hey, I killed the wolves you asked me to do. But I might miss the opportunity if it gets too late in the day. We'll see if I get back in time. I could have also freed up some space by, like, dual-wielding axes that picked up more copper. Because that torch only costs wood to make. It's pretty dang cheap. Here's a good opportunity to show you the almost complete lack of fall damage. Not hurt. It takes like a 50-foot fall for you to even start to take damage. As I said, it's pretty forgiving. You got iron ankles. Or iron legs. Yeah. More like knees, I suppose. I used to be a long jumper. And, luckily I was born with, like, iron knees. My back, not so much. I have a bad back. But my knees are great. And when I was a kid, I did stupid things like jump out of second-story windows pretty regularly, and, like, my knees are still fine.
I heard the Elder, not yet.
Okay, so the Elder's still up for now. Let me get to him before it gets sundown.
Let's talk. Yes?
Regarding
Wait,
wolves,
you're back again.
I got
Surely
the pelts as requested.
I don't know what to say. Thank you. It's much appreciated.
Can continue my investigation in Rhadamant now.
Yes, I suppose you can. Even though I might question your mental state for taking on those wolves, you've shown you're not a danger to us. Indeed, you seem to be more of a danger to yourself.
Excellent. I'll get to work then.
Anything else?
So I'm now an associate of Rhadamant. He has another quest for me, so I'm going to pick that up. But as an associate, it means I have the reputation, maybe not renown, but reputation to recruit Greg Drest. I forgot to write how much renown it takes.
Unfortunately, I have no job for you.
Okay.
Anything else?
I have something special for you.
You do? What is it?
I have a coin.
Oh, I see. Those
so he's going to
coins
tell
are from
you
the times before the last rebellion. No one uses them anymore, but they're a precious and nostalgic symbol for people throughout Carvenia. If you bring them to the elders from the lowlands and highlands, they will surely regard you more kindly.
Okay.
Don't try anything stupid.
So I can sell wolf fangs and coins to him. It says maximum 50, but every day that refreshes, so you can just keep selling them to them. So if you ever have a wolf fang or a coin, you can bring them to the elders. There's also a quest to make wolf trophies that require fangs, but... And then there's all these notices on the board here. So, rewards await for loyal. This is Lord Ashbourne recruiting brigands. An election in Bradford, which is a local town. Patrick running against an opposer. The way the game will explain it, but the way the elections work is you're an elder until someone runs. So it's like, you know, some elders are elders for like 30 years until they retire, sort of deal. I'm just trying to clear some of this out. The notifications that I've found new stuff. Some of the stuff, most of the stuff that you're going to want to read is going to be the lore, not so much like, hey, you've understood now smoking racks, like, big deal. So, Solstice, denizens of the lowlands. The grand solstice doth draw nigh, and with it, the esteemed Lord Ashbourne extends a heartfelt invitation to a celebration. Essentially, just local happenings in politics. Nothing that specifically relates to your investigation about the coin and about the person that assassinated the individual that smuggled you out of Carvenia to keep you alive. Taxes for good, so great Lord Ashbourne raising taxes, basically tithing the crap at everyone. And threats of heroism. We declare once that the once menacing specter of banditry is quelled. Essentially, the butcher and the rebels trying to overthrow Lord Ashbourne has been defeated, according to Lord Ashbourne. But I still stand, so maybe he's wrong.
We are keeping the peace here in the name of Lord Ashbourne.
The only quest I have right now is to talk to the Elder of Padstow. But it's probably too late in the day for me to talk to Gregory Drest. Because most people are asleep, as you can see, like the quest givers have gone in their houses. And I'd have to wait till the morning to chat with them. So, I'll come back in the morning. But until then, I'll try to find something reasonable for me to do. So the bulletin board isn't for quests. Quests are given out in Rhadamant. They're typically given out by like carpenters, blacksmiths, weavers, and they're stuff like, I need you to go retrieve my tools, or I need you to provide me nails, or, you know, something of that ilk. And some of the quests are for renown, some of the quests are for reputation or rewards. So like Hunter and Hunted was for trust in Rhadamant. Deer Hunter was for renown. Village in Need was for trust. The trust ones are probably, in my opinion, worth doing, because it can be hard to build up trust. There are other ways to build up trust, though. I'll get into that in just a second when I reach the research bench. So other ways to build up trust for villages, other than doing quests, is to build them facilities. So in Tier 2, once I gain Lumberjack, I gain the ability to build a village house. Now, a village house is not a house that I use. It's a house that once I'm friends with the town, I can build houses for that town to build trust. So I take resources that I gather and drop them off at a house site in Rhadamant or whatever other town. The villagers will build the houses themselves, so you don't actually have to manually construct them yourself. Although, with that said, the village stuff you can do instantly without a construction hammer and just like police things down. It's just kind of labor and click intensive. But once it's completed, you will build up trust with that specific town. You can min-max it if you want by like building the same thing over and over and over again. But again, as a role-playing series, I'm not going to do that. So I'm not going to build like 10 wells for the town to build up trust. Because like, what town needs 10 wells? They just need one. But there's a bunch of village objects like lanterns and houses and prayer sites and archery ranges and that kind of thing. Shrines. So like a shrine, for instance, only costs 15 stone. So hypothetically, to become Bellwright of a town, you could build like a bajillion shrines out of hundreds of stone to become the Bellwright of that town. It just doesn't make sense role-playing wise, so I'm not going to do it. But that's the other way to build up trust with a town. So you can either sell old coins, wolf fangs, you can quest, or you can build village construction projects. But the village construction projects require you to meet a certain reputation level prior to building them. So I can't just, like, even if I had tier 2, as an associate of the town, they're not going to let me, like, roll up and build them a house. They don't trust me enough. Alright, so what do I want to do? I want to research bag next, I think. Because, you know, carry weight's kind of nice. And for that, I need a strap. The straps are eventually manufactured by a blacksmith. But I'm not a blacksmith, and I don't have a blacksmith. So, what that means is I'm going to need to kill some dudes to get a strap. Yeah, I intend to do that. Also, this fine stew is about to spoil, so I'm going to eat it before it does. And I'm going to queue up some more fine stews with the meat that I have. So, current quest right now is to recruit Greg Drast and make stews. Because it's going to be winter soon, and when winter hits, I'm not going to be able to pick a bunch of mushrooms for stews. So, getting a bunch of mushrooms ahead of winter so that I can make stews throughout the winter is going to be useful. Same with garlic. Oh, I should drop my axe off and... The trap's actually working. Maybe they patched it. When I first played, traps like would never ever work. You could lay down like 10 traps and they'd capture like one thing every few days, and it was really frustrating, but this trap seems to be working, so I'll just keep rebaiting it. See if it's luck or see if they actually changed something. But once winter comes around, which I think is about to happen, I'm going to lose the ability to forage for stuff. So stockpiling mushrooms and garlic for when winter hits is a smart thing to do. And garlic was found a bit further away from camp. It's easy enough for Lubomir to grab mushrooms because we live next to a mushroom patch, but the garlic was I found over this way, I think, or maybe over here. I forget exactly where. I should have marked it down. Oh, there it is. And we still haven't built the stockpile yet, but that's mostly my fault for hogging all the axes, preventing Lubomir from actually cutting any trees down. So if I put the axes in the logging camp, he'll actually be able to cut. Once the amount of wood has been stocked up, the 20 wood, he'll be able to cut logs down himself, allowing him to build the stockpile without my interference. Nope, that's not how to cook. Stabbing the cauldron, surprisingly, doesn't work that well. How much more garlic do we have? So, oddly, garlic is a resource, not a food. Essentially, food rations is things that spoil, except for spoiled food, because it's already spoiled. Whereas, like, things like garlic and sage is used in cooking, but because it doesn't spoil, the game doesn't consider it a food resource. I know it sounds weird. It's just the way it is. So, like, garlic and sage is stuff that you're going to want to make stews and berry jam and things like that, but it isn't considered a resource. And actually, the next thing I want to make maybe should be berry jam instead of the stew. But essentially, I want to be cooking before winter really sets in. So, I'm also running out of, like, storage for stuff. What's filled? Just a little bit of everything, actually. It's kind of nice. I'll take the spoiled food out of there. But, But I'm gonna need to start making stockpiles because I'm just about out of volume for storage here. Do you have a food storage food preparation? So I've spoken about this before, but the smoking rack helps to keep food from spoiling. And then the way food spoils is it spoils one stack at a time. So if you have a large stack of things, like I have 15 spoiled mushrooms, a good example of this would be this raw meat. If I take one raw meat out, as you can see, the next raw meat in the stack hasn't spoiled yet. So if you have a large stack of similar things, it spoils more slowly. And much later on, you gain access to a food cellar, which slows down food spoiling rate. But the food cellar requires you to recruit an apprentice innkeeper first, and that's not something that's going to happen anytime soon. So that's for later on. So if I wanted to make berry jam, that's 1 sage, 2 berries. I live basically on top of a sage patch, so that's pretty easy to do. Crazy enough, I've never harvested sage. And here is the... Oh, well, Lubomir has been busy. This is stuff that he's harvested himself. So when I went to go get mushrooms, I didn't need to, because he has already sourced them in the foraging camp. So he's been a busy bee. Ooh, 3 stews. Bonus. So there's a little bit of a... I'm just going to warn you ahead of time. A little bit of, I wouldn't say it's a bug, per se. But, when you insert something into a cauldron, you can't take it back out. And the reason I mention that is, like, let's say you start to make... you start to make berry jam, but it's the winter, and you don't have access to berries, your cauldron is going to be soft-locked, preventing you from using it until you finish the recipe that you've started. Oh, wow, that trapping has already captured something new. Damn, I was very wrong about trapping. So everything, all the slanderous things I've said about trapping, I take back. At least from anecdotal evidence. Maybe I'm just getting lucky. And I'm going to make a torch so you guys can see what the hell I'm doing here, because I know it's dark as hell. And I just warn you about that because, like, for a lot of the simple recipes, it's, like, not so hard to then get the thing that you're missing. So, like, right now I'm missing berries. So, oh, the trap broke. I'm not going to replace it, even though I acknowledge that it's been useful. But on later on, for, like, more complex things, like, if you have a bakery and not an apiary, and you queue up something that uses honey, you're not going to be able to... It's going to suck. Because your bakery is going to not be able to make bread until you put honey in for the recipe, which might mean for you to build an apiary. So I'm just, like, warning you about that, because it's an annoying thing that happens, you know, if you're not attentive. It's weird that you can't just change the recipe. So it's not so much the recipe, it's that you can't pull out ingredients. So if I, for instance, put... if I put garlic into the crock pot, I have to finish a recipe that requires the garlic. But there's multiple recipes that require garlic. Does that make sense? So it's not that, like, it's specific to the recipe, it's specific to the ingredients. So if I put a large piece of meat into the crock pot, I can make fine stew. Or I could make meat stew, but it has to be either fine stew or meat stew, because those are the only things that use a large piece of raw meat. What are you researching? You are researching bags, but I am missing a strap, so... Once I'm done with the stews, I'm going to go kill some bandits so I can get a bag. It's weird to be like, I need to go murder someone for, you know, a bag, but I didn't make the rules. I just follow them. And I think what Lubomir's doing right now is, we ran out of linen. What's your, so my crafting is 2. What is his crafting? His crafting is 2, so now he can make linen 2. So, without inspecting him, my guess is he's going to start making the linen required for the bag. Depending on his priorities. No, right now he's woodcutting. Almost right, but not quite. And I'm just sticking all the resources required for a fine stew. So once this jam finishes, I can queue up stew. It's also worth noting that, like, once you have a larger population, having a bunch of cauldrons running in parallel is very nice. So you can't get, no pun intended, you can't get jammed up on one thing. I know I just made jam. So that you have, like, 3 cauldrons for fine stew, and like a dedicated cauldron for mushroom stew, and a dedicated cauldron for berry jam, or maybe even multiple cauldrons for berry jam and mushroom stew, depending on your population. I would say 1 smoking rack is probably enough. If you have more than 1 smoking rack, all of your meat and mushrooms are just going to go straight into the smoking rack, and you're not going to have meat and mushrooms for other things, which is why I don't like to allow villagers to use smoking racks, because they will just burn through all of your mushrooms and meat, preventing you from using mushrooms and meat for other recipes. It's much, and in terms of nutrients, it's more useful to make fine stews than it is to make a ton of smoked mushrooms. So if I had to pick between cauldrons and smoking racks, it's going to be cauldrons. It's just the smoking racks are very useful for building up a supply for the winter. So you're going to have to turn them on and off as needed, essentially. Okay. Let's go kill bandits. Thank you for tuning in to Bellwright, which originally streamed live on Twitch May 25th. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you would like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you would like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching, and a special thank you to my Patreon patrons, Twitch subscribers, viewers that turned out to the Marathon's live stream, and also viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow Bellwrights.